Some big name investors know what it's like to have little. Actually, a lot of them do. Let's focus on Peter Lynch's story today. If you don't know who he is, Peter Lynch ran one of the most successful funds in recent history. That fund is owned by Fidelity. Peter's mom became a widow when Peter was 10, supporting 7 kids. I'm not sure what the quality of life was for Peter growing up, and there's a possibility he had some advantages to help him get where he is today. But you can't deny his mindset and his personal actions. He had the winner's mentality long before he ran Fidelity's fund. How do I know? Well, he saved up some money in college and bought $800 worth of Flying Tiger Airlines. That investment ended up becoming $8,000. He multiplied his money by 10, a 10-bagger. Lynch went on to build his career on 10-baggers. $800 isn't a large sum. Peter started small and now has a net worth upwards of $350 million. Sure, a lot of that has to do with the perks of managing a fund, but he averaged 29.2% returns a year for 20 years. Now, I always like to talk about investing just $150 a month, which is doable for most anyone. If you were to take 29.2% returns and you only had $150 a month, that would become over $1 million in 20 years for Peter. So he'd be rich either way. Consider that Lynch made that 10-bagger before he was credentialed or had Wall Street connections or even had a large sum of money. He shares his philosophy in his books, such as Beating the Street and One Up on Wall Street, which are geared for the average investor. Guess he's like me in that way. And if he believes you can do it, and I believe you can do it, why don't you believe you can do it? It's quite simple. Peter Lynch talks about the PE ratio, the PEG ratio a lot in Beating the Street. Basically what he's doing is finding an undervalued stock, should have lots of earnings, and compare that to the growth. And so if you can pay for a good stock that has good growth, generally it might have a low PEG ratio and you are more likely to get great results. I like to teach similar metrics. I talk about the PE ratio, price divided by earnings. There's also the PB ratio, price to book value. That's just the price divided by the book value, which is shareholders' equity, which is total assets minus total liabilities. And then there's the price to sales ratio, price divided by sales. You also see that in the annual reports as revenue. So there's these basic ratios and valuation metrics that you can use. And like I mentioned, you just go to a company's annual reports. They're all freely available online, and you can look through the annual reports, pull out some key metrics, and it becomes simple math. It's a simple division or some sort of ratio with simple multiplication. So it's all simple stuff. It's just the hard part is obviously figuring out what these ratios are, figuring out what the important metrics are, and then doing some calculations and looking over a wide scale of stocks in order to pick out the best one. So that's kind of everything I try to do here on the YouTube channel. And if it's something that you think you have an inclination for, I definitely recommend subscribing to the YouTube channel. Check out the different resources I have, the ones I recommend that are made by others, and just generally try to immerse yourself in the world and learn as much as you can. And you might find yourself that you get a 10-bagger sooner than you might expect.